We are back with yet another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing, or rather, the newest and hottest games on the block. My name is Madison, and today we'll talk about the 4.5-year-old Hypixel Skyblock on Minecraft's most popular Java Edition server, the Hypixel Network. Almost exactly half a year after hype surrounding the release of the Hytale trailer, the server, almost out of the blue, introduces a new minigame. But instead of the usual competitive PvP round-based minigame, we have a persistence PvE simulator with MMORPG elements based on the original Skyblock, which was one of the most downloaded Minecraft maps. What a mouthful! However, we will use the term Skyblock to refer to Hypixel Skyblock from now on. And since Hypixel is exclusive to the Java edition of Minecraft, the game is available only on PC, and thus is the recorded footage you see here. This footage, however, is spoiler-free, although 99% of players don't play this game entirely on a blind playthrough. We'll discuss the progression later. To summarize, you can ask anyone in Skyblock's sphere of influence to describe the game, and they'll most likely say that it's grindy, it's buggy, and it's laggy. Each of these three take off from the experience in their own ways, especially the bugginess and the lag that plagues the entire Hypixel network. As Hypixel is located in North America, many far away, especially in the Eastern Hemisphere, struggle to even log on to the server. Even then, one will suffer with constant lag spikes as everything comes to a halt, only to go hyperspeed a few seconds later. Very effective in triggering someone's anxiety, I must say. In terms of the actual game, I'd like for you to first know, you'll be clicking a lot. You'll click on trees and crops. You'll click on stone and gemstones. You'll click on mobs using swords, magic, and bows. And you'll have your fair share of clicking through menus as well. In return, you gain stats, in-game currency such as coins and bits, and you'll be able to move on to activities you'll usually want to do. Sound familiar? That's right. The progression is nothing short of just labor. The same mindless actions over thousands of hours just to improve in the game. A good lot of us play video games to escape such work, not to indulge in it. And if you ask me, you might as well go outside and do similar ludicrous tasks for real life money, as you'll make more than you ever will playing the game. The only catch is, jobs require you to apply and have experience. Skyblock does not. If anything, Skyblock is a free way to experience reaping the fruits of your labor, and it's obviously not the only game that applies these philosophies in their gameplay. People like grinding for higher numbers and better gear because they get something out of their hard work, signifying your actions having an effect on the game. That, and there are fun video game aspects of Skyblock to begin with. Many of the unique weapons and abilities are creative and look amazing despite the limitations of Minecraft version 1.8, and are very fun to use at times. That's without the usage of the many cosmetic skins and runes you can put on your gear, and even the immense amount of upgrades you can put on everything, like enchantments, are a way you can express yourself, just like art. The same can be said about Minecraft modifications, or mods, made specifically for Skyblock as well as texture packs, to make the game more accessible, or look just like how anyone would want Skyblock to look like. I even found myself logging onto the game or looking at Skycrypt, a profile viewer, just to see what I've done ever since I started my profile. These dopamine pumps bring a likeliness to Skyblock, and is what keeps its players playing. It incentivizes people to never give up on their goals in the game, and if it's too far a reach, they can set smaller goals as stepping stones for the big one. After all, the journey is more important than the destination. Eventually, they'll be rewarded with exactly what they worked for, and their friends may give them congrats and good jobs. Such practices apply to real-life ambitions, except in a simple, gamified form. Want a Witherblade? You'll need to craft it using drops from floor 7 of the Catacombs dungeon. In order to grind dungeons, you'll need gear, and to learn the various floors. In order to get gear, you'll need to find a money-making method, dragging you into other parts of the game like farming and mining, which have their own aspects and their own goals within them. All of those have its steps and grind, but with time, devotion, and some luck, you'll eventually get to dropping the loot for the Witherblade. As I mentioned, it's a long but significant journey, and it mirrors that of chasing your dreams in real life. In fact, grinding for stuff in Skyblock reminds me of how the game introduces you to its content. There's no one way to play the game, and if you're ever bored of something, you can always try something else. Not everyone likes dungeons, so they resort to combat in other forms like Slayer bosses or money-making based activities like gemstone mining and lava fishing. This is something I don't normally see in other skill-based games, as I usually see many parts of those games entirely optional and even ignored to get to a high level. Skyblock prompts the player to explore its features and, just like classic Skyblock, use both your knowledge and your resources, no matter how little, to thrive, or in Hypixel's case, progress. You'll have to click on smaller mobs in order to take on the big mob. Unfortunately, there is one downside from putting in time and effort to becoming stronger, and that is that we forget Skyblock is a video game. There will be serious cases of addiction. You could play so much as to sell your soul and live life as your character in Skyblock while forgetting that you have to live a real life as well. While I mentioned earlier as to how clicking is boring and off-putting, it's a gameplay loop that causes one to keep playing and playing. Those who are acknowledged with real progress have spent thousands of hours doing such clicking, especially those who have reached the first skill milestones or top leaderboard players in Skyblock's various collections. Many of those hours are a result of a lack of sleep, among other methods of self-care, and it takes the player away from possibly more important matters in the real world. I personally have used Skyblock as a way to spend the day while ignoring real-life tasks, because the dopamine I'm getting from playing just can't help itself. I want more and more. The problem with that is, I've left 20-hour sessions burnt out from the game, and I'd be reminded of how much better my real life can be if I spent those 20 hours doing my things there. For anyone who dares get into such a vicious cycle, I want you to make sure your real life is as sustainable as possible, else Skyblock will take over and essentially become your life. So why am I mentioning addiction? For video games, it's obviously not new. Every single good game has an addicting factor in them that immerses someone from real life. But Skyblock is different in the sense that in order to have a leverage in your profile, you'll have to be sucked into these arbitrary tasks for a long time in order to get good at Skyblock. To get good, it's not a matter of who can aim better or who has the biggest brain. Instead, it's who spends the most time and makes the most money alongside similar number-based statistics. I'm mentioning this in particular because a game about doing the same boring thing over and over has people spending thousands of hours grinding, despite real life being a grind that makes more. A game about doing the same boring thing over and over has its gameplay loops, immersion, and fun elements that make it work as a good game. It doesn't necessarily have to be super fun and exciting, but rather addicting. Addiction, alongside attachment to your character and its items, and a decent feeling of progression is what brings Skyblock its player base. Speaking of its player base, Skyblock's social aspect is equally as important in making the game solid as its psychology is. As soon as you set foot in the hub for the first time, you are instantly surrounded by your fellow neighbors in dopamine captivity. In other words, there will be a lot of talking and meeting others, whether it would be starting an island together in co-op, finding party members to do these 5-player dungeons with, trading your items for theirs, or socializing the pain away. It's nothing different from every multiplayer game, but there are some elements that Skyblock emphasizes more than others. One example would be a big influence of Discord servers who offer services that may help your experience. Another is, well, it takes longer to explain. First things first, I would advise getting familiar with the game yourself before speaking to anyone. You wouldn't want to annoy anyone with questions nor depend on them or their stuff throughout your profile, as that is what I've seen since day one of the game's launch. Many people asking for money, for a person to carry them and things they wouldn't be able to do alone, and overall clinginess to the people they look up to. I believe this is due to a case of immense jealousy seen in Skyblock due to how much publicity everyone has in the game, which exposes newer players to the more experienced ones. Many times I've adopted the philosophy of, there is always someone better than you, but that doesn't discredit you, so keep going, keep grinding. Skyblock is grueling to progress, and only those who take on such grinding won't have to spend their time bothering others just because they want to be able to do or have something. Everyone has a point in the game where they have to take on a task they don't want to do, but that's the only way you'll be able to do what you want. And before you say anything, yes you can! Progression just takes time, patience, and devotion. I'm not saying you should go by completely alone, nor do I say having some reliance on others is blasphemous. You'd rather not be like those beggars in the chat, let alone complain and worry about what you don't have rather than what you do have. Well, good news for you, and this is one pull factor for me. Skyblock never stops you from going after your goals yourself, no matter how long it takes. Personally, I find this fascinating because it allows me to get over my jealousies and doubts in the past, spending the time to never give up on growing my profile and getting better at the game. Also, because Hypixel has built a competitive minigame-oriented player base before Skyblock was introduced, you'd expect those ways to bleed into the PvE game. Expect to see others saying you should get this sword and this armor in this specific way, and then get this sword and this armor this specific way. And if you want to explore a skill-based island, they want you to do this and this, because it's 0.25% more effective, and if you don't follow exactly what this high-level person says, then you're different, and being different is a red flag. It's an MMO. Just in the face of a kids' block game. There will be people who play casually and others who focus on min-maxing. You can be whoever you want, as that's what the RPG stands for in MMORPG. Regardless, you'll hear the same popular or high-level names, and credit where credit is due, they will provide lots of useful advice given your circumstance, which is one plus for the publicity Skyblock provides for the presence. Would you let them influence your decisions? Just remember that you have a choice in what's best for your profile, and it's up to you and your co-op to make it grow the best you can. Like I said, this competitiveness doesn't apply to everyone, it's just an inference from me, but it's good to keep in mind in case it bothers you, like it did for me, from time and time again. That, and that certain activities are contested by people going 4 times the Houston freeway speed limit. You're going to have to switch lobbies. Find an emptier one. Editing Maddie here. I'm not one to give general tips about where to go and what to do, so if you're interested, check out the enigmatic Leafinagus in their video over 20 pieces of very helpful advice. It's a great, well thought out and put together video, and I'm totally not bringing it up because I appeared in it, I mean. So, if Skyblock is a simulator-made MMO based on real life, it must have its own real life-like society. That means there will be people who will want to play with you, use you for your hard-earned money or to borrow your hard-earned items, extort you, steal your Minecraft accounts, all the like. Yeah, this is just so prevalent. I'd rather have those who play Skyblock go in with a careful mindset. Lots of things prompt you to join their Discord server and verify with something other than the reaction roll, or they want you to go onto their fake website for a free client-based cosmetic. Don't do it. Others make deals too good to be true that they'd make you pay first, then run off with the money. Don't fall for those. It's a problem for me because multiple people have spent time trying to get me specifically to join their servers, etc., even though I'm just one person out of thousands. Plus, it pains me to see my friends succumb one by one to losing their accounts. Please, just be careful. Trust the right people, and you'll see some who are great and helpful so long as you give them the same respect as well. A couple of my best friends were met through Skyblock, and I thank the game for giving me this opportunity. Wait, why am I saying this? I can say this every multiplayer game I play, but it's whatever. My experience to your ears. So that's Hypixel Skyblock from someone who's either spent a lot of time or not a lot of time depending on who you ask. I'd really like to hear what everyone thinks about the game. Like, what keeps you playing, or what do you like best about it? Of course, this is just a satire parody of a series that has helped me learn about games before I play them, but I'm happy to share a couple of my personal impressions of Skyblock, as well as some pros and cons. It's clear that despite its negatives shining brightly on everyone, there is still the love and care crafted into Skyblock. Whether it's the neatly designed map, or the little details dotted here and there, the game still gets frequent updates, and I would always log on every couple weeks to see something new. It's not for everyone, but it maintains its gameplay loops, and it keeps people together. That's enough for it to be a solid multiplayer MMORPG, or Number Go Higher Simulator. Yay! Speaking of numbers, I think this is the part where I ask for whatever those likes are. Not that I'm conscious of statistics, mind you. I just care for you to have a good rest of your day, and I appreciate your time spent here. Hope the things I just said about Skyblock have given you an insight some way or another. Maybe it taught you something. Regardless, take care now. Soppy outro over. I have a texture pack to release. So, I introduce to you Toothache! I've wanted to release this 2 months ago, by the way. In the COVID pandemic, a special someone made this for a YouTuber who, at the time, had a toothache. He used a pack named UBE by Lushi, which I never used, and I'm kind of curious as to what that pack is, so let me check that out real quick. First impressions, it's vastly different from Toothache. Like the GUI, the items, even the sword shape. It took me a while to see a resemblance alongside asking Prop if it really was UBE. I'm taking his word for it as he's the creator of Toothache. The reason why I'm emphasizing so much on UBE is because I'm releasing a pack that originally isn't ours, and I want to give credit to 5-year-ago Lushi for essentially making Toothache possible. Thus, thank you. Gracias. Merci. Danke. Spasiba. And sheshe. Anyway, you want to see Toothache, but enjoy me dropping a duplex and a Firebee Burst Rune in the same boss, with 250 ping by the way. Toothache history that nobody cares about. The pack sat dormant since 2020 until Prop gave me the zip file, making me promise not to eat it. He made the pack pink, and he changed a lot of miscellaneous things to fit him, which might explain the disparity between UBE and Toothache. According to him, the swords, tools, and armor were a little plain, only having one color for the outline and one color for fill. You can tell he wasn't very confident in showing me it, but trust me, the minimalism was good. I made him feel better by shading everything and making the hunger bar pink tooth to better represent the name. Over time, you guys have been wanting it, so here we are now. I hope you enjoyed the pack! Moral of the story though? Take care of your teeth, else it'll be recolored by a young and ambitious Prop.